Okay, so let's unpack this. Today, we're not just looking at a philosophy, we are launching into what's basically a spiritual instruction manual for radical self-liberation.
Yeah, and the material we're drawing on comes from Koichi Tsuru's text, God's Scenario, which we're looking at through a really fascinating discussion on a Japanese YouTube channel.
Right, and we should probably set the expectation for you, the listener, right away.
We really should. The sources themselves warn that this isn't, a quick read. It's more like a Zen riddle. It's designed to dismantle your thinking, not just add more information to it.
Oh, exactly. And our whole mission today is to give you a bit of a shortcut, the distilled essence of this really profound shift in perspective.
It's all about moving away from a life that's run by obligation, by that feeling of things you absolutely must do.
And instead stepping into a life of, I guess, inherent fulfillment, a fulfillment that's already there.
Which brings us to the central question, really. Why do we, as humans, feel so completely bound all the time? What if the only thing you actually must do is just live fully right now?
That's the challenge. And it starts with what the text calls the must-do mentality, or neba naranai. Let's call it the necessity trap.
That phrase, niba naranai, it just perfectly captures that internal stress.
Right.
The feeling that you have some grand mission you have to achieve.
The constant feeling of, I'm not there yet. I haven't done enough.
And Tsuru's first point is so radical. He says, the second you believe, I must do something, that's it. You've created your own bondage.
So it's the idea of necessity that makes you unfree, not the actual job or the family obligation.
Exactly. You've just chosen to put on the chains. It's a choice.
And he contrasts this with what he calls a godly desire. You could say source or your deepest self. It doesn't really matter.
Right. And the only thing this root consciousness wants for you is 100% freedom. A being like that acts because it wants to, as like a joyful expression.
Never because it has to. Never to meet a quota or fulfill some external demand.
Think about it in your own life. Maybe you're a manager who feels you must answer every email immediately. Or you've just graduated and you feel you must get a certain kind of job.
Tsuru would just say, look closer. Why? What's the compulsion?
Because if there's anything you're actually required to do, it's just to live this present moment 100%. That's where freedom is.
But, okay, what about real-world pressures? Taxes, family expectations. The classic, my parents told me I have to be a doctor.
His response is a little bracing. He'd say, you are still the one who chose to accept and internalize that opinion.
You're adopting someone else's idea of necessity.
You are. You are the one applying the chain. Liberation starts when you see that.
Okay, so that's step one, realizing the trap of Nibbana Narnai. But then what happens when we try to escape by, chasing after some perfect future? This brings us to the next big point, the folly of the ideal.
We all do this. We hold up this shiny vision of ourselves, the ideal job, the ideal body, the godlike human we're trying to become.
But the consequence, and this is the kicker, is that the moment you create that ideal, you are unconsciously negating your present self.
Right. You look at where you are now, and the immediate thought is, I'm not good enough yet. I need to fix myself.
And that thought creates a gap, a distance between the present you and the ideal you.
And boom, you've just recreated the necessity trap. Now you must fix yourself to bridge that gap.
Right.
What's worse is that Tsuru suggests that feeling of this is bad or this isn't good enough is the very thought that attracts more of what you don't want.
It's so counterintuitive. We think striving is a good thing.
But he's saying you're not here to be in a constant state of preparation for some future moment where you finally get to shine.
You're supposed to shine now, to express your life vividly, right now.
And if you find yourself saying, oh, if I just had X, then I could really live, Tsuru points out that you are the one who decided X was required in the first place. You set the conditions for your own happiness.
And this is where the psychology of it gets really interesting with the role of the ego, or what the text calls self-consciousness.
The ego's main job in this framework is survival. And it does that by looking at everything through the lens of future fear.
It's a threat detection machine.
Totally. And for the ego, anything that isn't this exact instant, even just 3 seconds from now, is the future and a potential problem it needs to manage.
Wait a second. So if the problem is this future focus, then shouldn't we just try to, find a method for living in the present?
And that's the catch-22. Tsuru points out that trying to understand or find the method to be present is itself a future-oriented trap.
Oh, wow.
The part of you that wants a method, the ego, is just delaying the experience of now by trying to turn it into a future goal. You can't use the mind that created the problem to solve the problem.
That makes perfect sense. So if we can't fix ourselves and we can't think our way out of it, where do we even put our attention?
And that leads us right to the core instruction of this whole thing. You stop trying to do something, and you simply keep your awareness on your own consciousness center.
Okay, and he calls this center the cosmic singularity.
Yes, the Tokuten. It's described as the starting point of all creation and also somehow your ultimate goal.
A cosmic singularity? I mean, that's a pretty dense phrase. Let's ground that a bit.
Hmm.
What is this singularity distinct from? What is it not?
This is the absolute key. First, the singularity is different from the self you usually identify with. That's your ego, your personality, your history, your fears. The ego is like the operating system running the program of you.
Okay, so the ego is the OS.
Mm.
Is the singularity the whole universe, then? The cosmic soup?
No, and he distinguishes it from that too. Think of your singularity as the unique point of awareness within the universe.
Yeah.
If the ego is the OS and the universe is the network, the singularity is the original core server that designed the whole thing.
Ah, so the operating system can't possibly understand the server it's running on. It's not equipped for that.
Exactly. And that's why trying to understand it with your mind is futile. The only thing you can do is let your awareness rest there.
And the practical result of that is what?
The impulse to fix things, the whole necessity trap, it just vanishes. If you're residing at the point of creation, there's nothing left to fix.
That sounds amazing, but also a bit passive.
Yep.
Is there a practice to help anchor this?
There is.
Yeah.
And it's all about accessing what he calls infinite joy, as opposed to finite joy.
Finite joy being the little reward you get from an achievement. I'll be happy when I get this promotion.
Precisely. He says that whole game of chasing conditional happiness just has to end. The practice he gives is an affirmation.
Okay.
The instruction is to close your eyes, try to fill your heart with a feeling of joy, and then repeat slowly to yourself just 2 or 3 times. I am now completely fulfilled.
I am now completely fulfilled. That's deceptively simple. What's supposed to happen?
The promise is that it guides you to this neutral, non-biased point. You stop radiating neediness and fear. And from that state, reality starts coming to you. The information you need just appears from within, effortlessly.
We have to talk about the personal story from the source discussion here because it shows how this is not always a gentle process.
Not at all.
The host there, he tried this affirmation after a painful divorce when he was feeling like a total failure, and his experience was the absolute opposite of refreshing.
He described it as a tremendous, violent, internal resistance,
Yeah.
a complete rejection of the words.
Yeah, he talks about tears, snot, drool, even screaming. His ego just could not accept the idea that he, in that damaged state, could possibly be completely fulfilled.
And that's the sound of the ego fighting for its life. The ego's entire job is to find and fix problems. If you declare that you're already fulfilled, it has no function. It's facing annihilation.
What's so powerful is his honesty. He said he was forced to take the author, Tsuru, seriously, because if another human could reach that state, it must be possible.
And the revelation was that the neutral point he was seeking was only on the other side of that intense internal war. This isn't just a happy little mantra, it's a deep reckoning.
And that reckoning is what finally unlocks the whole idea of God's scenario.
It all comes full circle. The premise is you wrote your own perfect life script before you came to Earth, but then you completely forgot it once you were operating from the ego.
So if the script is already perfect, what's the one thing required to live it?
Simply to stop flailing. Stop calculating. Stop trying to control the outcome based on fear. The scenario is playing out perfectly, whether your ego likes it or not.
That was the breakthrough for the speaker in our source material. The phrase, "I am now completely fulfilled," finally clicked. He realized he'd been following his script perfectly, including the divorce and the struggle, so logically, he was fulfilled.
It reframes everything. Suffering isn't a mistake. It's just a scene in a very complex drama you wrote for yourself.
And if you're stuck in the habit of comparing yourself to others, the text offers a new comparison. Compare the scenario written by your deep God part versus the one written by your restricted ego.
The difference is so clear. The ego just generates thoughts like, I hate this or this is bad, which only creates more unpleasantness. The God part just expresses itself.
So the big takeaway is that when you stop letting your ego run the show, your root self, your singularity, takes over and God's scenario starts operating on its own.
But what does that actually look like? Stopping calculation sounds reckless. It's not. It just means doing what you truly want in this moment, not what you think you should do for a secure future.
I love the example the source speaker gave. When he first stopped all his must-dos, he just had a ton of free time. And at first he just killed it, you know? Watched movies, rented videos.
Standard stuff, the ego's idea of freedom.
Right. But then, only after he got totally bored of that, did he discover what he truly wanted to do. Which was something simple and uncalculated, like going to a riverbank and just shouting or singing.
The ego could never have come up with that. You have to clear out the obligations and the shoulds before the real, spontaneous desire can even surface.
And that's what built his confidence. By eliminating the obligations and trusting that his God part would take over, he saw reality supporting him with perfect timing.
Yeah.
He didn't need to operate from fear anymore.
And that's really the deep dive for you, the learner. Moving from that restrictive necessity trap to the freedom you find in this present moment singularity.
The whole shift is about having the courage to trust your deepest self, the writer of the script, over your calculating, terrified ego.
And it does take courage to face that internal rebellion and accept that you are somehow already fulfilled.
Which brings us to one final provocative thought from Tsuru. As you try to do this, all those old restrictions, the I shouldn't do that, they're going to pop up all the time.
And the instruction is not to fight them. Don't judge them. Just observe the thought and ask yourself one simple question.
Why do I think I shouldn't do this?
You just ask it gently. Why do I believe this is forbidden? You observe the restriction without adding more judgment on top of it.
And just by observing it, the source of the rule, which is usually some old fear, some conditioning from the ego, it reveals itself. You don't have to fix it, you just have to see it.
In that moment of seeing, that's when you can tell the difference between the ego's script and God's scenario.
Yeah.
That's the path.
And that is the path to the singularity. Thank you for diving deep with us.
My pleasure.